Today we're going to make an underwater scene using texture. If you remember the beginning of the year, we did texture with Eric Carle and with paint. And we painted and made different textures that we could see. Now I can't actually feel this, but I can imagine what it would feel like to feel the lion's mane, just from the different lines and patterns in there. And we've been working on patterns the last couple weeks too. Same thing with the seal. I can imagine what those flippers might feel like. Today we're going to do texture that we can see and texture we can feel. The first thing is you're going to fill your whole paper with different textures. You have some texture plates at your table and you're going to have to share these. Remember, you put the plate underneath your paper. Then you take your crayon and you hold it sideways. So this will be a review. We've done this before. You hold it sideways so that you get the texture. Now this texture you can feel. This texture, you won't be able to feel it, but you can see it. If you remember, if you just color normally, the texture won't show up. You have to go with your crayon like that. Think about where else you might get texture. You could get texture from the bottom of your shoe. You could get texture from your chair. There are lots of places you can get texture, but just use these crayons for texture. After you get texture, you're going to draw all kinds of things you would find in the sea. You could draw fish. And to draw a fish, I'm going to do an oval and a triangle. We've used shapes for drawing before too, so it's the same thing. And then later you can add an eye and a mouth if you want. But right now, just get the outside shape. And if you want, you can erase that. You could do a fin. So you could draw fish. You could draw rocks. You could draw coral. You could draw an octopus if you wanted to. You can draw anything that's under the sea. And then you're going to cut your things out. The easiest way to cut your things is to just cut them into big pieces, cut them into squares. Because if I have to cut out of a big sheet of paper, that's going to be a lot harder than it is to just cut a small piece. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut around. Don't make your things too teeny tiny itty bitty or they'll be hard to cut out. So I'm going to go around and cut it. This fish is about the size of 2 of my finger widths. That should be about how big yours are, 2 or 3 fingers wide. Otherwise, they're going to be too tiny. On your big paper, you're going to take your crayon, and we're going to make the bottom of the sea, the floor on the bottom of the sea. And I'm holding my crayon sideways, my brown crayon, to draw like that. And then I'm going to take mine, and I'm going to glue them on. You'll see I already glued some on. I have some rocks. I have some coral, I have some fish, and so I'm going to take the pieces that I cut out, and I'm going to take the glue stick, and all I need is a couple dots of glue. A glue stick is not a crayon. We don't scribble with the glue. That wastes the glue, and then we run out. You just need a couple dots, and glue it on, and you're going to see if you can fill your whole paper with different kinds of fish with texture. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to get a little piece of tin foil. You might have seen this at home. We use tin foil to cover food with or cover up containers, and you can draw a fish on here. We're going to draw a texture that you can see. So the texture that, a texture that you can feel. So what I do is I'm going to draw my fish, and I'm going to draw some different textures on my fish. Now when I turn it over, I can feel the texture. So we're going to do one fish with tin foil just for fun so that we can compare and contrast to our other fish with texture that we can see. So I'm going to cut out my fish. Now crayons don't really work to color this very well, so just leave your fish silver. And I'm going to put some glue stick on the back, just a couple dots, and stick that fish on too. And then you can take turns looking at each other's papers and saying, what texture do you see? What does it look like? I can tell that's the bottom of my shoe right there. What else might it look like? Does it look like it's rough? Does it look like it's smooth? Does it look like it might be bumpy? What does your texture feel like?